Te reo ererangi o te mānia. This episode was produced in Otatahi by Plains Media, with support from New Zealand On Air.
Step inside to the quirkiest, stinkiest, and most hilarious adventure yet. Today on Spin Me a Tale with Xanthe, we explore the Bad Smell Hotel by Leela and Rajorshi Chakraborti, published by Ahoy, an imprint of the Cuba Press in 2023. Get ready for laughter, surprises, and a hotel you'll never forget. The year is 2050. Most humans have an easy and convenient life. There are robots for almost every task, to make you a smoothie, take your avatar on a virtual reality tour if you want to go for a walk in any city in the world, and remember all your messages, conversations, videos and photographs if you want a friend to talk to at any time that knows you really well. Many things have never been easier to do. Outside, it's a bit different. People live in tight clusters. In 2050, close to areas where rain still falls and food can grow. A lot of land has been lost to desert or vanished under the sea. Seasons have become more extreme, which is why, for so much of summer or winter, depending on where you are, it's not very pleasant to be outside. Instead, scientists and companies have focused on finding ways to make people more comfortable indoors, because that's where they spend almost all their time. This is the world of our story. Most people feel quite satisfied with their lives and believe it's the best they can have in the circumstances. Just a few don't fit in, but there's a solution for them as well. It's called the Bad Smell Hotel, Aukwell. Their problem was farting? The town of Aukwell, where our story is set, needed a place for a small number of people who had begun to fart too much. They were farting unstoppably. They couldn't control it. And when we say unstoppably, that is exactly what we mean. There weren't your run-of-the-mill 1 or 2 rips at a time farts that stink up a room for like 30 seconds, and you can hold your breath or cover your nose until they're gone. That would have been fine. Okay, not fine, but bearable. No, these were one after the other serial farts. Tens, dozens, even 50 at a time. Yes, 50. That's not a misprint. Crackling out like a bunch of beginners playing wind instruments really badly. And terrifyingly disgusting level of smell would build up in the room until everybody had to rush out into open air in order to breathe. No matter what, the outside temperature, then put on a smell protection headset indoors for the rest of the day. A smell protection headset can cost up to $4,000 in 2050, depending on the level of virtual reality technology you want and the quality of the air purifiers. So imagine the surge in smell protection expenses for any family if just one member suddenly becomes a super farter, which is one of the few words with super in it that isn't a good thing. And nothing seems to work as a cure. Super farters have tried changing their diets and spending longer in the bathrooms, often up to hours at a time. Doctors prescribe them all sorts of pills, but their numbers have steadily grown, creating smelly difficulties for more and more families, which is why 6 years ago, when the mayor of Aukwell suggested moving all the super farters into an abandoned bicycle factory just outside town, almost everyone agreed. The factory was tidied up, new walls were put in, as well as bathrooms and beds, all by robots of course, and its new name made clear what it was going to be, the Bad Smell Hotel. Within a year, the idea was so successful that Bad Smell hotels had popped up in 11,392 cities around the world. But it all began here in Aukwell, Aotearoa. Jerry. Aukwell is also where the main characters of our story live. Let's start by introducing Jerry. Jerry moved to the Bad Smell Hotel last year, in 2049. Until then, he'd lived with his mum Esther and younger brother Larry. But no matter how much they loved him, they couldn't put up with his smells any longer. It was Larry who first suggested the Bad Smell Hotel. When Jerry moved, Larry bought him a pet fish as a present so he would have some company. Jerry, who is 22, and his fish, Jerry Jr., live in Suite 303. Jerry would prefer a dog over a fish, but he knows it would be torture for any dog at the Bad Smell Hotel. The good news is that Jerry has as many virtual reality programs as he could wish for in his smell protection headset. All he needs to do is decide where his avatar is going that day and which of his doggy friends is coming along. Last week, for example, on Monday, he took Mojo, the 5-year-old Labradoodle, to the beach to swim and to play fetch. On Wednesday, Jerry and his golden retriever pal Comet went for a run in Central Park, New York, during autumn. And at one point, Comet disappeared under a heap of golden leaves, and it was impossible to tell the dog from the leaves. And on Friday, Jerry's avatar took a Bernese mountain dog named Magali through snow that came all the way to his knees because he knew a real Bernese would love every minute of it. Anywhere Jerry wants to go, he can go, and with any dog, so long as it's virtual. Jerry's mum Esther and his brother Larry hologram Jerry regularly, but they have never visited the Bad Smell Hotel. Most residents of the hotel never have visitors, but then again, they don't need to. When you miss someone in 2050, you can either message to see if they are free to hologram, or you can just say to your personal robot, "Hey busy, ring up Mum," and immediately Mum appears as an avatar. And it's almost exactly like catching up with her in person, because the avatar is made out of all the videos and conversation between Jerry and his mum that their personal robots have recorded over the years. In fact, robots in 2050 are so incredible that apart from the residents, not a single living person needs to enter a Bad Smell Hotel. Every task, cleaning, cooking, registering new farters, handling deliveries, is done by robots, which is, of course, for the best. Can you imagine if humans had to work in such a stinky place? When Jerry's food is running low, his fridge knows what to order directly from the supermarket. If there's a dish he's craving, one option he has while his cooking robot prepares it is to switch on an app in his headset. Then Jerry lies back and watches his avatar smell and taste that very dish until Chef Joy serves up the real thing. It's meant to make the waiting easier, although Jerry doesn't find that to be necessarily the case. Ever since he was at high school, Jerry has been a video game designer. His most famous game is called Dodge the Smell Monster. It has 152 levels, and children as well as grown-ups play it all the time. The smells in the game are represented by different colours that Jerry and Larry came up with together. Green and purple are for the worst ones, and the ones who are really brave can do a left swipe in their ear while playing and knock themselves out with a whiff of the actual stink. Dodge the Smell Monster has made Jerry a lot of money. He has a corner suite in the Bad Smell Hotel and can afford the best robots for everything. If you asked him, he would say there's only one thing missing in his life, apart from a real pet dog, of course. Aina. And that is a friendship with Aina, who is a person Jerry admires and thinks he would really like to meet. Aina also stays at the Bad Smell Hotel. What's unique about her is that she is a dancer who still loves to dance, even though she could lie on her bed and watch her avatar do any dance she chooses. Sometimes Aina puts on a live show in the hotel auditorium, in whatever style she feels like, flamenco, ballet, hip-hop, jazz, and sends all the residents an invitation to come and watch. Jerry always goes. He is often the only one who bothers. A few others watch Aina's performances online from their rooms, but Jerry is there in a front row seat. He wonders if Aina knows it's the same person each time inside the purple smell protection headset. She wears one too, as she dances on the stage in one of her many gorgeous costumes. At the end, Jerry always rises to applaud her, but so far they have never spoken. Aina, who is 23, has been staying at the Bad Smell Hotel for 3 years. Before she moved here, she tried to be a dance teacher, but in a world where your life-sized avatar can dance as you in any style you care to imagine, nobody signed up or sent their kids for actual lessons. So now Aina advises the robots who design the avatars on how to make their dances as human-like as possible, and her time is in high demand. In 2050, people get a lot of pleasure from watching dancing avatars, whether it's their own, a friend's, or family members, or sometimes they watch a celebrity from the past, which is a human being who used to be famous for doing something well before robots became able to do everything better. Aina's best friend is her companion robot, Vovita, a top-of-the-line humanoid who usually dresses in a flamenco dancer. Aina chats with her robot all day long. Sometimes she choreographs a part for Vovita in her shows. Yet, despite Vovita's presence and her comfortable life, Aina misses the outside world. She follows online what some of her human friends are up to, although they mostly seem to spend their time doing things in VR from their couches. This made Aina feel a little better about being cooped up in the Bad Smell Hotel. Once Aina looked up bad smell hotels in other countries where, as a traveller, she might be able to stay. But then she found that no one has yet created a bad smell section on trains, planes, ferries, cruise ships or buses. She realised there was no way for unstoppably farty people to travel anywhere. Aina doesn't know this, but it's part of a global plan. Governments from every country have secretly agreed that they don't want superfarters from different places to meet, fall in love and have children, in case their children turn out to be superfarters too. Miss Knickerbocker, in case you're wondering what happens in 2050 to unstoppably farty children, they are sent to, you guessed it, to a bad smell school. Any child at any ordinary school who shows signs of being a super farter is made to wear a special gadget around their waist that will measure their farts 24/7. These are called fart bits. Fart bits play a very important role in the lives of farty children in 2050. They show which children are getting better and who will have to be moved to a bad smell school because their farts are becoming unstoppable. This seems like the only solution. Or is it? One Thursday last year, around the time Jerry moved to the Bad Smell Hotel, a substitute teacher at North Aukwell Primary School noticed something surprising, something no one had noticed before. This teacher's name was Miss Knickerbocker. For 2 days near the end of each month, all the schools in Aukwell have human volunteers as substitute teachers, while the humanoid robots that usually do the teaching get a full systems upgrade. What this means is that they receive any repairs they need, the latest software improvements that allow them to be the best teachers and safest caregivers that they could be, and the most up-to-date knowledge in every area. These are the only times the children get human teachers in their classrooms. Strangely enough, even though these are volunteer roles for which people are not paid, there is always a long waiting list of grown-ups who want to have a turn as substitute teachers, which is why Miss Knickerbocker, who is a grandmother of 2, felt lucky to be getting her first teaching turn in 3 years. That Thursday, while teaching the last class of the afternoon to a group of 7 and 8-year-olds, Miss Knickerbocker noticed that some of the farty children had especially low readings on their fart bits. It was part of her job to monitor the readings 3 times each day, at the start of school, after lunch, and just before the final bell. At first she wondered whether it was the effect of their lunch, but the meal that day had been much the same as usual. Plant-based hot dogs with salad on the side from North Aukwell Primary's own greenhouse and tutti frutti panna cotta for dessert. Then Miss Knickerbocker considered the weather. Could a cloudless spring day such as today make children less farty because the warm farts drifted upwards and escaped into the sky? But no one had ever suggested this before. Surely a top scientist would have thought of it. Miss Knickerbocker shook her head and decided it was a one-off coincidence that didn't mean anything. Tomorrow the readings would return to their normal levels. On Friday, she kept a close eye on the fart bit readings of all the farty children in her class. Her subjects for the day were robotics, robot history, sustainability, safety in VR, and jazzercise. And for the second afternoon in a row, she saved half an hour at the end for show and tell. Show and tell was Miss Knickerbocker's way for getting the children to relax at the end of a long day. All she said to them was, "Bring one thing along that you really like and tell the class about it. It can be anything. The only rule is you must talk about it yourself." This meant that the children couldn't use an avatar or project their hologram to speak on their behalf. In fact, everyone's personal robots had to be switched to nighttime mode and sat quietly at the back of the room, right through Miss Knickerbocker's show and tell. Not everyone chose to speak, and Miss Knickerbocker was fine with that. Today's first volunteer was Henry, who had brought in a huge Tupperware bowls containing his 3 favourite jellies, lime, boysenberry and raspberry. He invited everyone to dig in with their spoon or fork, which was pretty nice of him. "Henry, tell them the most special part," Miss Knickerbocker said. That I made these myself," Henry mumbled shyly. There were a few whats and wows from the children. "That's right," Miss Knickerbocker said. "No cooking robot was involved in the making of these jellies. Was it hard, Henry?" "No, you just have to be careful around boiling water," Henry said, "and it helps to like stirring. Oh, and you need to be patient while they set. That's what my grandpa likes about it. He says making jelly helps me learn to wait." Next, Jemima laid out an array of her favourite hairbands and hair clips, as well as some multicoloured scrunchies that she had made with her mum. She described doing that for a while, then asked Miss Knickerbocker if at the next show and tell she could show people how to make them. "My mum loves to sew, so we have lots of materials. I can bring them in so there's enough for everyone." Sweetheart, next time it won't," Miss Knickerbocker began, but then changed what she was going to say. It made her sad to think she would probably never visit their class again. Instead, Miss Knickerbocker promised Jemima that she would request Mr. Smarts, the principal of North Auckville Primary, to ask the other human volunteers to have at least one show and tell each month. After Jemima, Tina described a really old microscope her grandmother had gifted her, what she hadn't been allowed to bring in. Instead, she passed around slides of different plant and animal cells that had incredible colours and shapes. When Tina asked people to guess what species each cell belonged to, not everyone was stunned by the answers. Not one of those slides looked anything like a tui's feather, a rabbit's brain, or an onion. Next, from 6 different pockets, as well as his school bag, Farah's brought out 42 erasers of super robots. They are like the superheroes of 2050. People watch movies about them and play their video games. He passed them around for everyone to sniff. Many people sounded surprised that there were this many super robots, but Farah said he had more at home, all different and all from various countries. "I belong to a group and we tell each other about new superhero robots that have been released in our countries. That's how I find out about them. And I only use super robot soaps when I shower," he added enthusiastically, but that was TMI for most of the others. When all the erasers had been sniffed and returned, there was time for one more turn, and India put up her hand, but then said that she didn't have an object to show. Instead, she asked people to clear some space so that she could do running cartwheels from one end of the classroom to another, and told everyone this was her favourite thing to do up and down the hallway of her house. And that once on a VR holiday that took her around England, her avatar had even done cartwheels on the only lawn inside a college in Oxford that didn't have a sign to keep off the grass. These 5 children all had fart bits, and here's the astonishing thing. Miss Knickerbocker noticed that after they said goodbye, and she had noted down their readings for the second afternoon in a row, the small levels of those who had shown and told were almost down to 0. They'd all had close to their usual readings in the morning and even at lunch, but something was happening in the afternoon that was causing these children not to fart at all, because it had happened 2 days in a row. Miss Knickerbocker thought it was worth pointing out to Mr. Smart, the school principal, so she wrote him a note hoping he could tell her the probable cause, but Mr. Smart was too busy supervising the upgrade of his teacher robots to reply to some strange message from a volunteer, and Miss Knickerbocker never got an answer to her question. She had also remembered to suggest doing show and tells more frequently, but this too was ignored by Mr. Smart. Even though she put in her application for it the very next day, Miss Knickerbocker knew she wouldn't get another turn as a substitute teacher for years, and in time she forgot about the little mystery she had noticed. At the end of the year, Henry, Jemima, Tina, Farahs and India were all transferred to Auckland's Bad Smell School as a result of their constantly high fart bit readings. The doors of the Bad Smell Hotel may close for now, but the laughter and surprises linger. Join Xanthe next Saturday at 9:30am as we continue our adventure through the wonderful world of Leela and Rajorshi Chakraborti, published by Ahoy, an imprint of the Cuba Press. Keep your noses ready, your imagination open and your curiosity buzzing.